So many moms feel stuck and isolated, like they've got to keep it all together and can't say how hard it really is. On Let's Get Real, we talk about the real stuff, motherhood, mental health, and everything in between, so you don't feel like you have to carry it alone anymore. Because in order to heal, we have to get real. If you're feeling overwhelmed, grab the Overwhelmed Moms Guide. It's totally free and made to help you feel like yourself again. The link is in the show notes. Let's jump in. When your child is struggling, as a mom, you often carry the weight of the world. You're fighting for answers, showing up in every room possible, and still wondering if you're failing. But what if God never asked you to do it alone? Jen Robb is a nurse practitioner, functional medicine provider, and author of Warrior Mom Rising. She's walked through her daughter's battles with anxiety, depression, and trauma. Now she equips moms to advocate for their kids while also taking care of their own health. Jen, thank you so much for meeting with me today. I'm really excited to dive into this topic of what it looks like to fight for your child while not losing yourself in the process of that. So thank you for being here today.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Thanks. Well, I would love if you could just start off by sharing a little bit of your story and what it looked like for you firsthand to step into that warrior mom role.
So our journey started when my daughter, name's Chloe, was about 12. She started struggling with severe anxiety and depression, ultimately leading to self-harm. There was a lot of, things through the journey that we ultimately discovered. One, that she had been sexually assaulted by another student. And so that was kind of at the root of what was causing her anxiety, depression.
Wow.
But through the whole thing, which was about 4 years, because she's now 17 and thriving, I really learned, for me, it's second nature to be in a doctor's office or in a school meeting or talking to counselors and therapists or psychiatrists, because I've been in medicine for 25 years, right? So that's like second nature for me, but it's not for most women, right? Especially if you don't have that background. And so talking to these therapists and pushing back a little bit was kind of like what you had to do and what I felt like I needed to do for Chloe, right? Because remember, our kids, when they're in the middle of a struggle, they can't speak up for themselves, right? They barely can speak up for themselves on a day-to-day basis when they're in their adolescent years, right? Because there's too many changes happening all at once. And when they're struggling with something as profound as like mental health, we have to step in and kind of advocate for them, right? And so part of the journey is learning to advocate for your child, but not losing yourself. But also I want to help other moms and other women learn how to advocate for their children, or sometimes it's their spouses even, right?
Yes.
In a healthy way.
Right. Like learn how to step into the role of being an advocate in a healthy way, which means staying intact and remaining a whole person so that you can really show up for the people you're advocating for.
Right.
What did those early days feel like when you were thrown into the fight for your daughter's health and well-being?
It's like a gut punch. And I often say all the time is because I feel like for us, we were like your typical kind of like all-American family, right? The white picket fence, if you will. My husband and I, we were college sweethearts. We've been together for 25 years. We have 3 kids, 2 boys. Chloe was the baby girl. Strong Christian home. And then all of a sudden, when your child starts to struggle with something out of nowhere, right? It's really like a gut punch for the mom. Because, in my head, I'm thinking, how on earth did we get here, right? We thought we had done everything right? And it's sickening in the feeling that you can't fix it for your child.
Yes.
Because as a mom, we want to fix everything for them, right? We don't want our kids to hurt and to have pain and to struggle. And you think about like when your kids were small, right? They come running, they fall down, they've hurt their knee. You pick them up, you wipe it off, you kiss it, you put a Band-Aid on it, and now they're better, right?
Yeah.
And they're off through running they go, right? But it's different when you have children in their teen years that are struggling with something like mental health, or even it could be addiction. There's a whole array of things that it could be, right? But as a mom, in this instance, you can't kiss it and make it better.
Yes.
And that is hard. It's really painful. It was painful for me and it's painful for other moms, but because then now you've got guilt creeping in, right? You've got mom shame. You've got all of these other feelings now compacted onto that you can't fix it, right? So then you feel like a failure and you kind of start really struggling with inadequacy almost.
Yes, I could see that.
But at the end of the day, one thing that I learned through the whole journey was that it's not my job as her mother to carry her pain for her. Right?
Oh, wow.
Right? Like we want to, right? We feel almost like a martyr sometimes, I think, like as a mom, right? We need to be a martyr. We need to carry their pain. We need to do it all for them. But the reality of the situation is we can't.
Yeah.
Right? And it is my job as her mother to show up every day for her, to advocate for her, to love her, to support her, to be her cheerleader. But ultimately, what I learned is that Chloe is going to have to do the work, right? She's going to have to do the work to heal herself. I can't do that for her. And I think if moms can learn that, then it gives them a sense of freedom almost, right? Because all of a sudden we're not this martyr meant to carry all of their pain in addition to everything else that we're feeling as moms.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I am so glad you brought this up because I haven't thought of that, but I can see how if we do that and when we carry our child's pain, it's a way of punishing ourselves. It can be because part of us knows like we can't fix this, but somehow we have to ease the burden, and it's almost like trying to figure out how to do that. But then it's this form of self-punishment, which is like what you're talking about with the martyrs. So I'm curious what you've noticed at the impact. What happens when we as moms carry our child's pain and to us, and then what happens to our child when we do this?
Well, first for our child, we're not teaching them anything, right? If we carry it for them and we try to take on all the healing responsibilities and the accountability and all of those things, what are our children learning? Right? They're not learning anything.
Yeah.
I mean, the goal of being a mother is to teach your children, is to raise them up, to teach them to fly. Right? And when you think about that, in all of the hard lessons of life, we have to allow our children to feel what they feel, and it's okay. Right? Your feelings, you're entitled to those feelings, but you're also 100% responsible for your actions and your decisions and the way that you heal. And I think that that's an important. Now I have my two boys are 20 and 19. And the goal for them is they needed to learn some lessons. And sometimes it's really hard as a mom and as a parent to let them struggle. It just is. Because our goal is to fix it. But what I learned is, and what Chloe ultimately learned is that she had to do the work. She had to fight just as hard as I was fighting for her. She had to fight for herself in healing herself, right? I can't do the work for her. I can't walk into the counselor's office and I can tell them the whole backstory, right?
Yes.
But I don't know exactly how she feels, even though she says, Mom, I feel like this. But when you can't, words and feelings don't always align, right? We can't feel the sickening feeling of anxiety that she felt. We just can't. But if we had walked in the counselor's office and I never let Chloe talk and the counselor never really got to know her and Chloe didn't do the hard work on healing, then she wouldn't be a thriving 17-year-old.
That is so true. Yeah.
So I think that it's important for moms that we learn that aspect, right? The whole entire goal of parenthood is to teach them to fly.
Yes.
And I wanted Chloe to learn that. I needed her to step in and fight for herself to heal the wounds that she had. And as a mom, if you don't allow them to struggle, if you don't allow them to do the work and you try to do that for them, then you hit full burnout mode, right? You go into full exhaustion. And there were many times that I was there, right? And sometimes I feel like the burnout, yes, it's because we're trying to carry too much, but then it just comes from the circumstances too, right?
Yes, exactly.
A little bit of the freedom, I'll say, comes from allowing them to struggle a little bit and to do the work themselves so that we don't go into full burnout mode. Because remember, as moms, we're in charge of everything. right? The household,
Yeah.
the kids, the taxi drivers, especially when they're little, right? And if you're burnt out and fully exhausted, what good are you? Right? You're not
Yes.
serving anybody, because our purpose as a mom is to serve and take care of our families. And if you're full burnout, then you can't do that. You can't pour from an empty cup. So you really have to kind of go, okay, how do I advocate for my kid and advocate for myself at the same time?
Yes. Gosh, that's so good. There's a couple thoughts coming to mind as you're sharing this. And I think it's really helpful to tease apart what our role is and then what our child's role is. That we each have a role to play in it. And it's beyond defining like mother, child, whatever. But as this advocate, and I just see, because again, we as moms tend to carry everything and take it all on our shoulders, which is way too big. It's way too much for us to carry alone. And it's no wonder then we crumble, we burn out, and we're like, what's wrong with me? Well, nothing's wrong with you. You were not meant to carry all of this. And so it's helpful to see I have a role to play as an advocate for my child. I don't have to carry her pain, but I can walk with her in her pain. She's hurting, and that is hers to own. It's her responsibility to do the work to heal, but I can lead her to seek out the help she needs, and into those rooms and into those spaces where then it's up to her, however much she shares and what she says, that is on her. I can't do anything beyond that. I feel like that's very helpful to tease it apart, get more specific of like, what can I actually do? And then where am I limited? Where does this come to a stop where it's no longer mine? This is now my child's, so that was something coming to mind. And the other thought I had was how, just kind of coming back to that, we can't carry their pain, but we can walk with them in it, because like I have experienced a pretty big traumatic experience when I was a kid, and not having an adult be able to enter into the pain where like I couldn't even share it, I then was left carrying this huge burden by myself, and it crushed me. So I don't know, I just feel like that is the other thought coming to mind, and what this process looks like, and just being able to find this more to lighten that load and create, like you said, more freedom.
That's it, right? Part of being a mother is showing up every day, right? And loving them through it. But you can't do it for them, right? And I mean, every day as a mom, you got to get up, whether you want to or not, and you got to show up, and you got to put one foot in front of the other, and you've got to show your child what it looks like to take ownership for whatever they're feeling. You have to teach them that. And the other thing about us being as moms in full burnout, right? If we're burnout and we can't get up out of bed and we're just stuck, and then we're short-tempered, and our reactions our fuses are very short. If you think about all of those things, then what are you modeling to your child who is hurting?
Yeah.
Right. And kids are smart, right? They're just smart, and they watch everything that we do. So as a mom, if I don't take care of myself, and I don't mean self-care in the fact that it's got to be super lavish and you got to be gone for 8 hours to a spa and spend thousands of dollars, right? I just mean in the little things, the day-to-day, the non-negotiables for us as moms, right? I wanted Chloe to see those things, right? I need her to know, listen, it's okay to feel not okay. It's okay. But it's not okay to stay in victim mentality, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I wanted for her. Because if we allow them, or even ourselves, to stay in this woe is me state, how are you ever going to get better? And how are you ever going to step into the purpose in which you're called in this life?
Yes.
Right? And I think that for me, modeling self-care and taking 10 or 15 minutes for my day, like, listen, I need time for myself, just 15 minutes, right? So that I can refresh and refill my cup, because that way I can continue to show up every day and pour into their cups.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. I'm curious, especially during this time when you look back and say, what were the things that you did just practically in the day-to-day that really helped fill yourself back up, that were really a form of taking care of yourself so that you could show up for her during this time?
The most important thing I ever did was when I was the most overwhelmed, right, with the situation or in my own feelings, is I would literally put myself in my car, because that's where no dogs or kids could get you.
Uninterrupted.
Yeah. And I would listen to worship music. Right. But it's also like little things is like a 10-minute walk, right, by yourself, where you're alone with your thoughts and you can kind of reground and recenter, right? It's taking a hot shower, taking that time for yourself, right? And I get it. Like, moms often say, well, I don't have time. I've got kids running around everywhere. I had 3 kids under the age of 3, right? So if you would have told me like, oh yeah, go take a hot shower. I mean, like, I get that part of it's hard, right? But it's still about making the necessary things and the necessary time for you, right? It's about being intentional with your time. So if it's taking a 10-minute walk, if it's doing a full workout session, if it's, sitting on the back patio with a cup of coffee just for 10 or 15 minutes, all of that is considered self-care, right? And I just feel like sometimes moms, we get trapped in kind of this cycle. It's like, well, I don't have time. But you had 20 minutes to scroll on social media.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yes, and amen.
That is not what we're meant to do, right? If we get trapped into this social media world, which there are lots of huge benefits to social media, right? But oftentimes moms will tell me, oh, I don't have time for that. But then when you look at Facebook, they've been on Facebook all day, right?
Right.
And if we get stuck in that, and now what is happening? You thought you were just mindlessly scrolling, but instead you're really in this almost comparison thing, right?
100%.
Oh, well, Susie over there is living her best life at the beach and she's not struggling like I am.
Yes.
Well, you don't know that, right? And that's kind of the fake facade of what social media is, but that's not self-care for you either, because now you've released a whole other set of feelings because you're comparing yourself to everybody else, right?
Yeah.
And that's like, so when I say take time for yourself, that's not what I mean. I mean, literally put the social media down and take time for just you in whatever way refreshes you and fills your cup back up.
Right. Oh, it's so great. And those are very good examples, because with social media, it is depleting us even more. So it's like, if you're already low or you have nothing left, social media, it's, and we're going to it for a reason. We're going there because the reality is too much. It's too much right now. And I need to figure out how to cope. I just need a break. I need to escape what I'm dealing with because it's so overwhelming. So often we'll go to social media in this example, but it continues to deplete us. And so what you're saying is, self-care, it's taking care of ourselves. We are experts at doing that for our kids and everybody else. So it's learning, how do we do that for us? And what I love with what you shared is it's so minimal. It is not all day. It doesn't take all, it can literally be for 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And having enough of those throughout the day, or the word refresh is what you brought up. I was like, yeah, what are the things that refresh us? And for a lot of us who have been on this journey, we are so far gone and so far removed from who we are, disconnected. We don't really know that. And so it's going to be trial and error. Hey, let me just try this 10-minute walk. Let me just try putting worship music on for 3 minutes, like one song. I just need to try and see what actually fills me up and refreshes me on a soul deep level, so I can continue to show up every day. And I just think it's important to highlight, this is daily renewal. This is not once a month, I'm getting my hair done. This is these little things, and it just takes that level of intentionality, like you were saying. So I'm wondering, where did your faith show up in the middle of the mess? When you're in the thick of everything, where did your faith show up in that?
Like I said, we've always been like a Christian family, church, and all that stuff. And in the early stages of this, I remember wrestling with God, going like, what are you doing? Like, this is not on my plan. This is not how, we don't deserve the whole 9 yards,
Yes.
right? Where you're going through the whole gamut of emotions, right? Sadness, anger, grief, the whole 9 yards, right? How did we get here? But probably 2 years into the journey, I think, it was on Chloe's, like, the hardest day that she'd had. And that day was April 4th of 23, when she was home. She had been doing better, but she decided to break into a liquor cabinet that had 2 locks on it. And I couldn't get a hold of her. And if you have mom instincts, you always should trust your mom instincts, right? This is huge for us as moms. And you could even say it's like, you know, if you don't want to say instinct, sometimes it's just the whisper of like the Holy Spirit, I think, like saying, hey, things not right. So I called my boys who were at high school down the road and I said, go home right now. Like, just do not pass go. And they got home and found her unresponsive, face down in a pillow, laying in a puddle of vomit.
Oh.
Not knowing what had happened at that point, you know, so they call 911. After a few minutes, they finally get her to wake up. We get her to the ER, and in their lab testing, we found out that her alcohol level was 4 times the lethal limit.
Man. Oh, that's so scary.
It's terrifying, right? And I mean, Chloe's a competitive cheerleader, so she's 100 pounds. You know, she's very petite.
Yeah.
And the ER doctor said, there's really no reason that she should be alive. I mean, when you look at her alcohol level, the fact of suffocation in her face in a pillow and aspiration because she's laying in vomit, you know, on her face. And so we bring her home that night. She's still covered in vomit. It's caked in her hair, but she was too weak physically, emotionally, mentally to bathe herself. So I had to put her in the shower and I had to wash her hair. And I'm sobbing and I'm like, oh my gosh. And like in that moment, it's just like, I got nothing left. Like I'm helpless here, right?
Yes.
Like that's exactly how I felt, was 100% helpless. I had done all of the things that I knew to do, right? And in my mom repertoire, right? You know, I checked off. But in that moment, it was literally like God out loud said, Jen, as much as you love her, surrender her to me. I love her more. Now that's a gut punch for a mama because ain't nobody loving my babies more than I love, right?
Right.
But we have to remember that in our faith, that God does love. He loves us, but he loves our children, and our children are really just on loan.
Yes.
And when you think about that, and I think about his love for Chloe was so strong and immeasurable, and I know 100% that she's anointed with for a purpose, right?
Yes.
But it was in that moment of surrender that it's like peace had come over, because it's like, if I give her to him, he's the only one that can fix it at this point, because I had done all of the things that I knew to do. Now, when I say like I surrendered her to God, that doesn't mean that I was like, well, I've washed your hair. I'm sorry, you're out on your own now, right? That's not it. I'm still going to be taking actions every day, but I have released that control of the situation. And that's important for moms. We control so much in our kids' day-to-day lives, especially when they're little, right? We control when they eat, who they hang out with, where they go, all the things, right? But what ultimately God was saying to me is, you really don't have any control over this. I do. And control comes from a place of fear, right? And again, I mean, you're a mother, you're fearful all the time that anytime your kid walks out the door that something's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
And if you could protect them, right? Like I felt like my whole entire job in the first 2 years of Chloe's journey was to keep her alive. Literally, that's what I was telling you. Like my job is to keep her alive. She went everywhere with me. I mean, she wasn't ever alone after that, you know?
Yeah.
And truly, that just came from a place of fear. And releasing some of that control, it gives you a renewed sense of peace, and that you're not in this alone, and that you don't have to do it alone. And God says, you don't have to carry that. Give it to me. Lay it at my feet. Let me carry it. And I think that is probably the most pivotal moment in our journey, is because I could let go of some of that.
Yeah.
Now, was it easy? No. Was it a day-to-day struggle? Yes. And I think that that's important. And just because as a mom, you release control, you have to do it every day, right? And if you fall, then you get back up and you do it again. So like as moms, we have this notion somewhere in there that we have to be perfect all the time. That is not the case. We are imperfect moms, caring and loving and raising imperfect children and families. But what we do need to do is be present. And we need to be mindful that what our kids need from us is not a perfect mama. They need a present mama.
Yeah.
And when you can release some of the fear and the control, it allows you to be more present.
Good. Gosh, that's so good. I have so many thoughts flying through my head because this is such a big challenge because I feel like what I'm hearing you say, it's holding both, because it's not like, oh, surrender doesn't mean I'm like giving up and I'm not doing anything anymore, right? So it's looks different than that. And then there's this role we get to play still to fight for our kids and advocate. So it's I just keep picturing holding both of those. And it's really hard to imagine how both of those things can exist, where it's like, kind of discovering what does this healthy agency look like, and then because there's so much fear that takes over, which really enforces this unhealthy sense of trying to grasp for control. But then we're so spun up and we're so anxious about everything that we miss the present. We miss our kids. We can't really show up. So yeah, like I'm curious as you've continued to walk this out day to day. And I love what you said. It's like, it is a struggle. It's a daily choice. It's trying this, it's fumbling, it's messing up and be like, dang, I did it again. I'm trying to control the situation too much, or I'm so worried about X, Y, and Z, I can't come back to where I'm at. And so what has as you've kind of navigated this of like, okay, surrender and fighting, do you have any other examples of what that has looked like over the past couple years?
Yeah. So, day to day, it's just a surrender, right? Saying, God, I trust you. I give her to you. Please help her in the ways that I can't help her. Right. But did we have to change counselors several times because the counselor that I had picked out originally wasn't the one for her? Right. And that's a form of advocating, is because when you can look at your counselor and go, you're a very nice person, but you're not helping her. You're coddling her, and she doesn't need to be coddled. I need somebody that's going to get in and get to the root of what is causing this. Right. Because I want her to be a successful, happy adult that doesn't carry this childhood pain. Right.
Yes.
I need her to be able to move past this. And so it's okay as a mom to say, you're a very nice person, but I'm going to find someone else. So I would still, and then I went on the next hunt and I found a very good therapist who was trained in trauma and adolescence, but it was also trained in cognitive behavior therapy, like EMDR.
Oh, wow.
And EMDR is like rapid eye movement, and it's a way of healing the brain. So essentially in EMDR, you have to bring everything back up to the surface because now our body has tried to protect us, right? So the brain has stuffed all of this trauma that she felt down, and it tries to put a Band-Aid over it, right? Like, okay, well, great. But that's why people that have suffered really big traumas, right? They're triggered by sounds or smells or sights because the brain has kind of stuffed it, but we haven't really dealt with the issue.
Yes.
Well, I needed Chloe to be able to be functioning, right? And not have to feel like she was stuck in this part of her childhood. And so that's what EMDR is. And so, I went on the hunt and I found another counselor that was perfect for Chloe. And that was me still showing up every day and taking action steps and advocating for her.
Yeah.
But I still had the peace of knowing that God has this, right? That God is going to take care of her. And both of those take us, if we fall, we get back up every day. Both of those. And they're not like you can do one or the other. They go together hand in hand, right? You're doing them both simultaneously. And there were many days, I had to pray and be like, Lord, not today. I got nothing left today. And, you're going to have to step in. And I think that that's just relying on someone else's strength and not my own.
So good.
But advocating for your child doesn't go away just because you surrender it to God. And God doesn't say that. God doesn't say hey, you surrender to me and I'm going to make it all go away and I'm going to make it better. That's not it at all.
Yeah.
It just puts you in a better place, a better mindset, right? That you are no longer carrying a burden all by yourself.
Man.
And, so, changing counselors, we changed, her original psychiatrist that she went to wanted to just put her on med. And I was like, nope, We're not putting you on medication after medication, okay? Medication has a place and a time, but I don't need you not to feel anything.
Yes.
That's important,
So
right? I needed to get to the root cause of what was causing her anguish.
Right.
And so that is about teaching moms to advocate for their child. And it's okay to move on. It's okay to find a different provider. It's okay to do those things.
Yeah.
Because no one knows your child as much as you do. I mean, I can tell you Chloe's facial expressions. I can tell you her tone. I can tell you about her body language, what kind of mood she is in.
Yeah. You know her like the back of your hand.
Right. And you know, when she was getting her anxiety, I could see when her anxiety was building and when it was becoming at the height, right? And people don't know that. A doctor doesn't know that doesn't know your child.
Yes.
And so advocating for them and saying, you know what? I don't think putting her on 3 medicines is the best option right now. Mm-hmm. 1, maybe for anxiety, for symptom control, for management of the symptoms, but there is no pill on earth that is going to magically take all that away.
Right. All the memories, the
Right.
things that are actually keeping her stuck. Yeah. I love that you're talking about that, to get to the root of this.
I mean, that's what you have to do. And it is hard and it is scary and it is gut wrenching, but that's what sometimes is necessary in order to come out on the other side better, right? Healed.
Yeah.
And I mean, I am fully aware that I think that Chloe will probably have a lifelong struggle with anxiety, right? To kind of go back into those tendencies.
Yeah.
But what counseling did and what finding the right therapist for her did was teach her better coping mechanisms.
Yes.
So she didn't want to harm herself, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that is really important for us to understand. We want them to learn better coping skills. And sometimes that's outside of our expertise as their moms, because we are looking at one thing from one very tunneled vision, right? Like, I just want to make her better.
Yeah.
And it's okay to seek expertise outside of that, outside of yourself. Because people have often said to me, I can't even do counseling. I mean, that's so embarrassing. There's so much judgment.
What a bummer. That's
right?
So unfortunate. Yeah.
Right. But, there probably is a stigma.
Yes.
Around, needing counseling or mental health issues or whatever. But it doesn't matter what other people say and do. I mean, the goal is to get you on the other side of healing.
Yes.
So that you can look back and know where you've been to where you are now. And if you fall along that way, then you just get back up and you do it again. And you do it again.
That's so good. Oh my gosh, Jen, the picture of falling and getting back up and trying again. That's a very powerful visual. And it's something that God has been specifically talking to me about for the past several months, probably 6 to 9 months, in regards to the topic of advocating. And I'm going to try to paint a picture of this, because I know my tendency, and as I've talked to other friends and other moms, there's can be this tendency of perfectionisting, what this should look like, right? So almost this sense of, okay, I magically should be able to find the perfect therapist for my child or for myself the first try. Or I should be able, for a doctor, and be like, okay, I found the right doctor on the first try. And what I've been experiencing for my health, or for myself in my own health journey that I've been on for several years, and then as I've had to advocate for my daughter and needing some therapy services, like feeding therapy stuff, I've been continuously up against how much I have to keep trying, where I'm like, okay, I tried this. I thought this was going to be the answer and it wasn't. And then being like, okay, God's like, you need to try again. You need just keep trying, get back up and keep trying, keep seeking, asking, knocking, seek, ask, knock. You will lead you there. And on the path of getting there, I'm also doing deeper work in you. So there's also purpose in the midst of the struggle, in the midst of the hard, in the midst of trying and learning. I'm like, man, I'm learning a lot about persevering. I'm learning a lot about really running this mental, emotional, spiritual marathon. And it's growing me in ways that it never could otherwise. And then the other thought that I had with what you're saying that I think brings some clarity is when you're describing okay, you're to advocate for your kid and then still surrender and trust God with it. It's this process of like, okay, I'm to take these actions and I'm to try these different things, follow his lead, but ultimately the outcome is the very thing I can't control. So the outcome, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's, if this therapist will be a good fit. I don't know if this doctor is going to help, but that is what I get to place in God's hand. And I can say, okay, I can ask and be like, lead me to the next thing. If this isn't it, show me what's next. And I don't have to be so worried about the outcome because I ultimately cannot control it no matter how hard I try.
Right. 100%. And I talk about that a lot in the book, right? There is a purpose in your pain, right? And sometimes, we may not know that purpose this side of heaven.
Yeah.
We may not. Sometimes we do. But God doesn't ask us to be perfect. And somewhere along the lines of life, we have gotten into that thought process that we have to be perfect for all things. But that's just you're never going to be perfect. And again, it just goes back to, as an imperfect person, continuing to get up and try again, to continue to rise, continue to put on your battle armor, and you're going into battle every day. Every day you're going into battle. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to fall or stumble, but you have to know that that's okay. But all God asks is that we get back up and we do it again and we try again. And then you look at what you're teaching your children, right? Like, you're teaching them that failure is okay. Falling is okay. But what is not okay is you're not going to stay down and admit defeat. You're going to get up every day with a renewed sense of strength, and you're going to say, all right, here we go again, back into battle.
Wow.
Because that's what Chloe had to do. Like, when you talk about mental health, Chloe had to get up and fight every day with her thoughts. All of the things that she was feeling, she had to fight against in order to keep moving forward, right?
Yeah.
And reality of the situation is that life is never going to be easy. Life is always going to life. And God never said, not one time, that life was going to be picture perfect for us. He didn't. Mm-hmm. And the sooner that we realize that we don't have to be perfect, we just have to keep trying, then that gives you kind of a sense of freedom as a mom too, right?
Yeah.
That you can step fully into your purpose as their mother. That you were chosen to be that child's mother.
Yeah.
God knew that I was going to be Chloe's mom, and he knew that we were going to hit that struggle when she was 12 before I was ever even formed in my mom's womb. Right? And when you think about that, it's awe-inspiring. But God chose me to be her mom, just like God chose you to be your child's mom. Yeah. Right? That's not by mistake. You are exactly who that child needs for such a time as this. Mm-hmm. Right? Because it doesn't mean you're going to have all the answers and you're going to know all the things, but it means that you are the right person to fight alongside your child in that moment. And I think that that's so important, is that we understand as moms that failure does not mean that we're terrible. It just means that it was a setback, and that what did we have to learn from that failure? What lessons can we take from that? Yes. And, Chloe used to say, why did this happen to me? She used to ask me that question all the time. And of course, I don't have a good answer. There's nothing I can say that's going to make that answer any better. But what I did realize is that when we stop saying, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to my child? And we change it to, why is this happening for me or for my child, right? If you change that one word, now all of a sudden you're out of victim mentality into something that God can use for his glory and for purpose.
Wow. Yes. What a great way to describe that and to just show what this can look like. I just think it's really encouraging and refreshing to hear that as moms, we really don't need to be perfect. We can't, but if we try, that actually does our kids a disservice. It doesn't teach them or give them permission to be humans who mess up and make mistakes and learn from it. So we get to actually model that for them, which is very humbling and so flippin' hard.
It's so hard.
So hard. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm wondering if you could share a little bit more about your book, because I would love to hear more, and I would love for our listeners to hear more as we can also get our hands on that eventually. So,
yeah, the book is called Warrior Moms Rising, right? A mom's battle plan to advocate, overcome, and thrive. And all of those things are in the book. And I'm very raw and honest in the book. I mean, it's part memoir, but it's part self-help, right? Because I want moms to understand, like, I see you, I hear you, I was you, right? Because oftentimes as a mom, we feel alone. And I think, you know, in the early parts of my journey with Chloe, we didn't really talk about it with anybody. We didn't really tell anybody. There was a lot of, you know, fear of judgment, stigmas, whatever, you know, how could you let that happen? And it wasn't really anything that we had did.
yeah.
You know, it was just the way it all kind of washed out. But we didn't want to talk about it with anybody. And I felt alone as her mother because, again, I was trying to carry it all by myself.
Right.
And it doesn't mean that I didn't have a supportive husband, because I did, and that Chloe didn't have two brothers that love and adore her. It just means that I was stuck in this cycle of control, and I felt alone. And in writing the book, I don't want other moms to feel that. I want you to know that you are seen and you are heard and that you are loved and that there is hope on the other side of this, even though all of our outcomes are going to be different and all of our stories may be different. But in the book, it's very raw and honest about my feelings. And I think that you can apply that to your own situation, right? Mm-hmm. But it's really about kind of walking through the different stages of becoming a warrior mom, right? And equipping you with the things that I learned along the way to help you learn literally to advocate, overcome, and thrive.
Wow, it's so good. How refreshing to just have someone who is able to share so honestly, because that is the thing I have been drawn to. And that's what I seek out. Like I have for years, because to your point, for so long, when you go through hard stuff, it is easy to feel alone in it. And then then the shame can set in and you're just like, okay, well, what's wrong with me? So it's really refreshing whenever I can find somebody, whether it is through a book, through a podcast, a speaker, whoever. And I'm like, man, it does help me feel seen. Like there's not something wrong with me. Unfortunately, one of these things, it's part of life happening to us, and we need guides. We need somebody who has gone through it and has gone ahead of us to give us that hope. And that's what I see with you. And I'm really grateful that you're sharing your story and willing to just share as honestly as you have. So yeah, sorry, is there anything else you wanted to add?
I think that that's important, right? I mean, all women, whether you're a mom or you're not, all want to be seen and heard, right? We want validation for our feelings. And the book offers that. You're entitled to your feelings. But what the book does is teach you how not to stay stuck in those feelings. Because if you stay stuck, again, who are you serving? You're not serving yourself. You can't serve the people that are entrusted, that you know, that you love and you care for. And it doesn't even have to be your kids. It could be your spouse. It could be your elderly parents, whatever, right? If we stay stuck, then we are helping no one. And you may be the one person that can help that other person that hears your part of the story.
Yes.
Right? And hears that it's okay to struggle. It's okay to have the feelings. But you got to get up. Every day you have to rise. Every day.
Yeah.
You rise and you put on your battle armor every day. And I think that is what I really want moms to hear and understand, is that you are seen and you are heard and that you're not alone. You don't have to go through all of these stages and have all the answers. Sometimes you just need a community of women, even though their stories are different, but to kind of cheer you on and to say, yes, we're here to support you. We're here to pray for you. We're here to do those things. And that is what I want for women. That is the impact that I want the book to have, is that to build this community of warrior moms so that together we stand strong, right? Together we can all go fight the battle. And the only way to do some of that is to get real and to get raw and honest with your feelings. Because if you stuff and you stuff and you stuff and say, I'm fine, but are you really fine? right? Are you really acknowledging the feelings and the pain and the hurt that you have, the guilt, the mom shame, all of the things? But there is healing through all of this. And as a community, we can help each other.
Yeah.
Overcome all of those feelings.
Yes, 100%. And it takes someone to go first, and it takes someone to take the initiative, because that is what I have deeply desired, especially in motherhood, because it's so flippin' hard. And I'm like, man, but why are there not more people talking honestly about how hard this is and the things that come up? But as I've been seeking out those other women that I can talk honestly with, it has really created this space to finally breathe and be like, oh my gosh, thank God I'm not alone, and grow tremendously. So it's really neat that you're on this path of really carving this out for other women to come together, because it is a huge need that we do have, and to create the space for that. So I'm really excited for this. And so as we come to a close, can you just share where people could find your book and connect with you to learn more?
Yeah, so the book is on Amazon, Warrior Mom Rising. It's on Amazon. And then my website is warriormomcoach.net. So I have free resources on there. You have a link to join the Facebook community, which is just, again, different moms with all different stories, but all needing a little bit of faith. And, they've all learned resilience and perseverance, and some of them are still on that journey. But there's a link to that. And then there's other things to like my courses and my coaching program on there as well.
Oh, that's amazing. It's like a plethora of resources available. I love that. Well, Jen, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us your story and background and expertise, because I'm just thinking, man, for myself and so many other mom friends that I do have, and anyone listening to this, how much it's going to help them. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here and to share. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I love being here.
Yeah, thank you. And if this episode has encouraged you in any way, please share it with another mom who needs to know that she's not alone. Thanks so much for listening, friend. I cannot wait to talk with you next time. Thanks for listening to Let's Get Real. If you've been feeling stretched thin, stuck in survival mode, or like you've lost yourself in motherhood, I made something just for you. It's called the Overwhelmed Mom's Guide, and it's totally free. Inside, I walk you through simple steps to help you reconnect with who you are, find a bit more breathing room in your day, and start to feel like you again. You can grab it now. Just click the link in the show notes. You don't have to keep doing this alone. Let's take the next step together.